Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Miranda Maverick up against Shanna Young in the rematch on the 5th. What do you make of her as an opponent? You faced her before, you've got a victory before, so very confident going to this one?
For sure. I fought, her once before, finished it pretty quickly. I don't plan on this one going any different. I feel like it's going to be a completely new person in me facing her. And from her, watching her through her career, I don't feel like she's had quite as many improvements as I have. Plus, she's taken time off to go have a kid. She's came back. She's fought at 135 a couple times since fighting me at 125. And here she is back in the 125 division. Had already faced Gina Mazzani. And honestly, didn't look great in that fight, at least the first round. And then Gina did a bad takedown, and Shanna was able to stay on top and finish it. I don't think she's going to have the same ease with me, and I'm ready to go out there and put on a show and make it just as easy as it was last time for me.
How did the fight come about? How did the rematch come about?
I got a call that said, "Hey, how about Shanna?" And I said, "Yeah, she'll take it." I actually did not expect her to accept the third several fights leading up to Shanna's, and everybody had said no. A lot of them were short notices. Obviously, it's been a little while since I've fought. I like being really active, staying right back in there. I stay in shape for short notices. And Shanna was offered to me. I said yes immediately. It took them a couple days to get back, but ultimately she agreed to it. Obviously, we were supposed to fight, about a month ago. I think it was August 20th. And that didn't work out. It got canceled from her having a bad weight cut, getting hospitalized, from getting cramps and stuff. And hopefully this weight cut goes better for her. I hope that she comes in as healthy as possible and we can put on a show.
How pleased were you with your last win against Sabrina Mazo? Like, lovely submission in the second round. Does that give you a nice bit of momentum here?
It did. And it also gave me a good chance to kind of show some of my new stuff we've been working on. We really game planned heavy for that fight. It could have been one of those fights where I just take her down, beat her up, submit her, but it was more of a, we want you to set up everything with your striking, work your new striking stuff into your takedowns, soften her up a little bit, and then finish it. So the game plan worked perfectly. I got a lot of learning in that fight, and that'll just help me for future fights.
You were on an incredible run and Invicta, lovely winning run, and then I think you're probably a bit unlucky against Macy Barber, and then you dropped the decision to Erin Blanchfield. Do you feel like sometimes this sport can be cruel in terms of bad luck, but do you feel that things have been put right in terms of getting back to winning ways where you should be?
I feel like God kind of directs where I go, and I think it's going to work out the best for me in the long run. I'm getting to kind of take a slower route to the top than what I was first directed to with, my first fight in the UFC. The second was already in the top 15. Then Macy, she was in the top 15. And when we fought, I 100% think that I won that fight. I don't think there's any doubt in really anybody's mind who watches it, unless they just won a lot of money from Macy winning. Those are about the only people that I see that think Macy won. I've tried to get a rematch with her a couple times. That has been directly put down as a no. But eventually we're going to have to face each other when we're both in the top 3, top 5, which I think we both will be at some point. We're both young up and comers, and we're both some of the best in the division, and I will face her again. And I won't leave it, as indecisive, I guess, for the judges to see. Plan on winning every round. The third round, I lost my momentum, and that was kind of when she picked it up. I think that's the only round she won by far, but, it is what it is. And the Erin Blanchfield fight, that one was just a bad fight for me. The whole night I kind of fell off, got in there, and I've never lost a first round ever in my career. And I think her taking me down and being able to hold me more than I expected, I had underestimated her a little bit, got to me in my head, and went in the second round with that kind of weakness. And since then, I've worked on not only my ground game a lot, but more my mental state than anything. Being used to losing a first round or even a whole fight and then coming back and winning and sparring. And just worked the best that we could in training to get me prepared for worst case scenarios.
You were inspired by Ronda Rousey, right, when you were a kid watching her fight. Like, how big of an influence was she for you?
Not a huge influence, but she was the first person I ever saw fight. Her versus Liz Carmouche was my introduction that women even fought MMA. I had no idea until that first women's fight in the UFC. And that was the first time it ever, even crossed my mind. I was like 14 years old, sitting on the sofa watching it with my dad. And he was like, "You could do that one day." And I was like, "Nah, I don't want punched in the face." And then flash forward 3 years later, I was like, I think I'm going to go to a gym and try jujitsu. And then 2 years after that, I decided I'd try MMA for the first time. And it's been a journey since then, for sure.
There was some debate over, I guess, the way that she took her losses. Did you see what Sean Strickland's been saying recently? I don't know if you had a take on that, but that seemed pretty over the top.
I didn't see what he said. What was he saying?
He would just said that he didn't respect her because she said that she was suicidal after losing. But I think that
I think
he go
everybody has their own mental health issues. I think it's hard. I mean, I know he's been in the sport, but it's also hard to judge each person's mental toughness and stuff. If you read the story of her life, she'd already had a lot of problems similar to that in the past. Yeah, one could call it mental weakness, but look where she's at now. She's at a better promotion where she doesn't get hurt as bad and gets paid a ton more. So I don't see it going downhill for her no matter what they say. And, if I got that kind of offer, I don't see why anybody would turn it down.
You're only 25 and you've got so many fights under your belt, some great victories. Do you see yourself getting better and better? Do you see yourself as a future champion?
Yeah, I feel like I haven't hit my prime or anywhere close. I'm learning every day. I moved up here to Denver to get to a new camp to learn more things. Every time that I went to another gym, I've figured out so much more. I started in Missouri. I learned my basics there. I learned a lot there, especially my jiu-jitsu background. And I got to be a high-level pro just from training in Springfield, Missouri at Springfield Fight Club, which is where my sister trains now, actually starting her MMA career. Then I moved out to Virginia. I would have never moved at all. It wasn't for the gym, but I had grad school out in Virginia, started training there, and I trained at a primarily Muay Thai gym and learned most of my striking base there. And then I came here to Denver, and this is kind of where I like to say I'm putting it all together, to be that elite athlete that I always wanted to be. And everything from my fitness level to my meal prep to my training, which, before has only been like 2 hours a day because I would have to do it after school, after training, or I'm sorry, after work. And now there's like morning practices, noon, afternoon, being able to split them up through the day, I think has really improved my physique, my nutrition, because it's easier to do that than 6 hours of training a day where your body just gets fatigued and you eat just one big meal a day because you don't have time for anything else. It's just really improved everything, and my mental space too, being out here and being able to achieve the dream that I've long awaited, and being gotten into the UFC. And of course, getting paid UFC money is a lot better than being a low level pro and getting paid $1,000 a fight, and it makes it a lot more motivating too, to try to chase those dreams. And I see myself being in the top 10 within the next year. And I hope being a contender for the title in the next 2 or 3.
Do you sometimes think that Valentina is invincible, like the way that she's been operating in recent years, or did her last fight show that she's fallible and is anybody taking that belt off her?
Hey, I thought that was a close fight, a really close fight. I thought Talia did good, and eventually people wear out of motivation. I think Valentina is a good champion. I think she keeps her head leveled and everything. I don't think she lets it get to her, so I don't think she'll have that come down like a lot of champs do after a while. But I also don't think she's invincible at all. When she fought Jennifer Maia, I think was the first time we saw the hole in the grappling. Like Jennifer Maia was able to win one of those rounds, in my opinion, take her down a few times. And then we saw Talia kind of just take that little speck of invincibility and just throw it out the window, and I always said that I think her grappling is very strong, but her weakness was the wrestling out of anything. And I think Talia finally showed that.
What do you think your X factor is as a fighter?
My X factor, like my talent, my biggest talent?
Yeah, I think what makes you, like, when it's maybe deep water or when adversity's against you, what is it you think that makes you kind of have that championship mentality?
Oh, I see what you mean. For me, it's the why behind us all, I think, is whatever my big goals are. And for me, I always tell people fighting isn't my everything. And some people will say that's a weakness, but I think it's my biggest strength. I have a whole nother career that I could go into and make pretty good money. I have a family behind me and a support system. I've kind of already set up my dominoes to where I have a future planned, right? No matter what happens in this sport. And that means that I can go in there and risk it all every time. I don't have to be careful when I fight. I don't have to play the game of, I just don't want to lose. I can go in there and try to win every time. So I may not win every fight, but I'm going to do my very best to, instead of playing it safe and having boring, unentertaining fights. And I think as long as I can go in and do my best and put on a show and make it the entertainment that MMA is supposed to be for fans, then I'll stick around and do the best I can and continue getting better and climbing that ladder.
That's beautifully put. Just to wrap up, a quick fire about your UFC colleagues, if that's okay with you. So who has the best jab?
Out of anybody?
Anybody past or present in your eyes?
I would say at least that I train with JJ Aldrich.
Who's the funniest?
Hmm. Maybe Raquel Pennington. As odd as that may sound to people. Yeah.
Who's the most annoying?
I don't really know that one. None of them make me too annoyed, at least not that I'm around.
Who
Oh,
is
Molly McCann. She's probably the most annoying, even though I'm not around her ever.
why'd you say Molly McCann?
Hey, she's the one that called me out and was all drunk when she did, and it was annoying and caused a bunch of things. So yeah.
Yeah, what happened with that? Are you guys gonna fight? There was a lot of good. Your reaction was good to that, and the fans loved it, right?
Yeah, but she's booked for Erin Blanchfield right now, which is the girl I lost to. I think she'll lose as well, and then maybe we will be rebooked. No, I've got respect for Molly, but then that kind of crossed the line, and I think fans would love to see it. I think it would be an awesome fight, and I'm ready to go whenever she is. Let me get done with this fight. She get done with her Erin fight, and I don't see why it couldn't be booked first beginning of 2023.
That would be a massive one. I feel like that's almost a money fight in the division now. Are you surprised by how like her star has risen so much?
I'm not surprised, but I will say, like, it's because of Patty more than anything. She was in the UFC for like 4 years, and you didn't even hear a whisper about her. And here, Patty's coming up and making fame for himself, and she just kind of rode the coattails. I think she's got a lot of charisma, and people like that, especially like her fans over there. And it's worked for her, but it's not going to work for long when she can't back it up with skill. And I think that her being in the rankings is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. She not only has not won enough to be there, but she's only fought girls who aren't even close to the rankings. And her last opponent wasn't even a 25er, so it's just so silly to me.
That's a fight the fans really want to see. I think you versus her. That would be very cool.
I think so too. And you've got, both camps. You got the Molly fans. They're like, oh, she crushed you, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever you think. And then there's the people who actually watch fights that are like, skill levels are, I think Miranda could win. And not only could I win, like, I see her being a heavy hitter and a brawler, and that's about all she's got.
Fantastic. I'm so intrigued by that one. On with the quick fire. Who is the hottest?
The hottest? I got a husband. I'm not answering that anyway.
You could say, I mean, you can interpret the question in different ways. You could also pass, but you could say in terms
I'll
of
pass.
style,
I'll pass that
or
one.
you could say female also. Um,
Yeah, I'll pass that one.
who do you think would make the best movie star?
Probably Drew Dober.
Excellent chin. So
Yeah, he'd do good at that one. He'd do good at that one. I
who
see him being like the really corny action movie star.
who would you most like to have dinner with?
Who would I most like to have dinner with? I don't know. That one's hard. Maybe Valentina. I'd love to kind of pick her brain and meet her in person. I thought about going and training with her in Vegas at one point, and they never called me back. But I was invited to go out there and train with her for a fight. But I got invited to the UFC like the same couple weeks, so I think it was just one of those things where they were like, future opponent. Let's just keep it away. But I'd like to meet her and get to know her and kind of pick her brain a little bit.
Interesting one. And who do you think the best dresser is?
Best dresser. Well, definitely one of the guys. Like, they're always dressing in like suits and everything else. I can't think of who the best would be though. Obviously, McGregor always had some crazy stuff, so I wouldn't say it's the best. I don't necessarily care for the style, but as far as getting attention, definitely him. I'll give it to him.
Who would you want by your side in a street fight?
Ngannou, absolutely. He's huge. I'm pretty sure nobody would even like try to fight him. They'd just be like, all right, we're done.
Who's the most interesting character?
Maybe Adesanya. He's definitely like a different one. He's one of those that you're like, wow, he's a tough guy, he's all this, and then he's like super nerdy and seems like he'd just be like one of those people that would be a typical, kid, almost like a young, like cool person that hangs out with all the kids.
And finally, who is your dream fight?
Molly, let's go. Obviously, I want to fight the champ at some point, but right now, that's the fight that I want to happen.
Miranda Maverick, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for the interview. I really appreciate you. Your answers are really, really good, really interesting. And it's first thing in the morning here, so I've been trying to get this interview for months, and then it was supposed to be yesterday, and then I got the okay that it was today, and it's like It's first thing in the morning. So I've never in my life have screwed up the introduction 3 times in a row and been late for my own interview. You've been so gracious about it. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so
It's
much.
all good. No
Yeah.
problem. Have a good day.